Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, we have a list for you today that we've wanted to do for a while, but there hasn't been any real solid information about many of the games. Thankfully, we have a little bit more information than we had before, and it's the upcoming RPG games on Nintendo Switch in 2019. Now, unfortunately, many of these have seen delays over the last few months. Thanks as always to our Patreons and all of you who comment down below. Remember, we give away a free Nintendo Switch game every single month. First up is a much-loved series, Fire Emblem. Now, the Fire Emblem series has been on handhelds in recent times, as early as 2017, but before that, there was a game on the Nintendo Wii called Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, but that was all the way back in 2007. So to see the game finally arrive on Nintendo Switch is a delight. Unfortunately, it has seen a few delays already, but we are promised that it will be released in 2019. One of the features I'm most excited about, and it's only really an aesthetic one, is the option to transition from a top-down view to an up-close view of the battlefield. I've always enjoyed this option in strategy games such as the Rome Total War series, and seeing it here I think will be a really nice addition.
Such a brutal, irrational world we live in. Some believe the crests, tokens of the goddess's power, are necessary to maintain order. But they're wrong, teacher. The crests are to blame.
Of Eternity Deadfire is a seafaring RPG where you and your companions travel the high seas, raiding islands and looking for mysterious treasure. I love the idea of taking this isometric approach to an RPG and also giving the player much more freedom over the choices they make. Not only are the aesthetic choices absolutely on point with this one, but it really reminds me of my favourite series of all time, and that's a combination between Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate, which, let's be honest, hopefully we'll be seeing this year on Nintendo Switch as well. One of my favourite games of all time is actually Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and this looks to have many of the same elements such as hiring your crew, changing their abilities, and improving your ship. Dragon's Quest XI is a game that's hotly anticipated to arrive on Nintendo Switch this year. It's another one that's seen a few delays already, but I really hope they take that time to improve the port. It includes a new camera system as well as a plethora of quest lines. One of the main things the Dragon's Quest series does so well are the side quests, and there are already some famous ones in this game that I'm not going to spoil. You won't find irritating random battles, and all enemies are shown on the overmap, but what you will find is at least 100 hours worth of gameplay, and a game that will suck you in, chew you up, and spit you out feeling like you've experienced a whole different world.
It is your fate to save this world. For this, you must survive. Bright luminary, let the light shine on the world again.
From a series I don't know a great deal about to one that I have spent thousands of hours playing, and it's the first of our Final Fantasy releases in 2019. Well, actually it's kind of two. It's Final Fantasy X or 10 depending on how you like to say it, and X2. The main important thing about these Final Fantasy games was that it was the first to see the transition from the old pre-rendered backdrops, which to be honest I absolutely loved, to fully three-dimensional ones. I remember when my brother first bought this back for the PlayStation, and both of us just weren't really sure if we liked the aesthetic choice. The best part of this game for me though was the world that it was set in. It was an amalgamation of South Pacific, Thailand and Japanese regions into one world, and it just looked beautiful. As you went about your mission to destroy the monster known as Shin, you really felt like you were in a new world in the Final Fantasy series. It was really Spira, that world, that was the star of the show with this game. And playing as Tidus, the star athlete in a fictional sports game known as Blitzball, was also a joy, after a few characters that didn't quite live up to Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, at least for me anyway.
Let's do it! The flame consumes all.
The next game is one called Yokai Watch 4. Now Glen assures me that this is something to do with ghosts, and it's a bit like Pokemon. Anyway, around the end of May 2017, the creator, and I'm gonna mess this up badly, Akihiro Hino, wanted to refresh the series. Now apparently, according to Wikipedia, I'm not gonna lie, this was something to do with declining sales in 2 and 3, and they just felt that they needed to mix it up a little bit. And he's done that in many ways. Firstly, it's going to feature some characters from the Shadow Side series, and also 7 new yokai tribes. It looks to release around springtime, and if you're a fan of the Pokemon series and you've not yet checked these games out, such as myself, then these are going to be ones to keep your eye on. Onto another big name, it's Shin Megami Tensei 5. These role-playing games, being developed by Atlus for the Nintendo Switch, are a huge deal in Japan, but also this popularity has leaked out to many other countries. Set in modern-day Tokyo, it's going to feature gameplay elements from the previous games, such as the ability to fuse demons along with new mechanics. Now, I certainly don't know a great deal about these, and again, I'm having to get my information off the internet, but I know for a fact many of you are huge fans, and forgetting this one would not be okay. Let me know down in the comments why I should check this game out when it comes out this year. On to our next game. It is the one and only Final Fantasy VII. Now, many people seem to have a problem with how much people love this game in comparison to games like Final Fantasy VIII and 9. Now, obviously, sadly, we're not going to see number 8 on the Switch because Square lost the source code, which is unbelievable. Final Fantasy VII, the reason it was such a big deal was it saw such a huge transition in both the aesthetic and also the gameplay itself, with its lovely hand-drawn backgrounds and its materia system, and the character interactions between people were so well done. Battling against Shinra and the evil president, and key moments like the dish, no spoilers, all stick in my memory. It was the first game where I saw the main character cross-dress, and there was so much humour put into it, but also the relationships you built through the journey meant that when tragedies arose, they really were impactful. The next of these games is Final Fantasy IX. It had a very different aesthetic, and this disappointed a few people. Everyone was really just wanting remakes of Final Fantasy VII, but that's not what the Final Fantasy series is all about. It's all about reinventing the world while carrying many of the same characters across, i.e. Cid. If you don't know who Cid is, he just pops up in every game. Now, Final Fantasy IX had a medieval approach, but carried a similar aesthetic to 7 and distanced itself from the more realistic look that 8 had. The next game is Dragon's Dogma. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, no, that's a hack and slash. Well, yes and no. It's more of an ARPG, and it has to go into my list because it's such a good game. Now, Capcom initially marketed it as such, as a hack and slash, but then as they got closer to launch, people were beginning to worry that that's all it had, and it doesn't. It has side quests, it has a class-based system, you can play as various characters: fighter, strider, mage, warrior, mystic knight, ranger, assassin, sorcerer, and magic archer. It's much more like a Western RPG in the vein of something like Skyrim. It's this hack and slash combat that makes it stand out from an otherwise packed field. Next up, we have the game Town. Now, this is developed by Game Freak, interestingly enough, who are supposedly developing the next Pokemon game. They are the mainline Pokemon developers, and although they've promised us a few interesting things there, it's quite interesting to see them working on this game at the same time. It is about a small town being attacked by giant monsters. And let's be honest, that sounds okay, but it's developed by Game Freak, the developers of the mainline Pokemon franchise, and as such, it's going to get the attention it deserves. Now, we really don't know much more than that, but that is enough to pique most people's interest because we know the pedigree these guys have. Which brings me nicely onto Pokemon, the next mainline RPG. Game Freak have promised a lot of surprises, and that's exactly what I want to see. The last full Pokemon experience I worked my way through was, I think it was Pokemon Gold back on the Game Boy, when I worked in Game, which is basically the UK's equivalent of GameStop. I remember the entire team basically just sat there for the next 3 or 4 days, glued to their screens, occasionally serving customers, I think. I can't quite remember, but I know that Charmander was pretty sweet. What is it that you're looking to see in the next Pokemon game? Let me know down in the comments. Digimon Survive is a really interesting take on the RPG. It's a survival strategy role-playing game, and it's developed by Witchcraft and published by Bandai Namco. According to the developer, your choices will influence the direction of the story, including the Digimon's evolution process. It's a game that you're going to be playing through multiple times, so it's not a traditional role-playing game in that sense, and each of these times, the evolution of your Digimon will be different. I think players are going to appreciate this new take on the series, and multiple endings to experience are going to keep people coming back. The storyline's something to do with a parallel universe and, I don't know, being stuck there while having a picnic, who knows. I've not really played many of the games, but this looks interesting. Okay, so there we have it. I really hope you've enjoyed this list. I know for a fact that many of you are going to be excited about these games, and if you can finally get Xenoblade 2 finished, and Kingdom Hearts if that's your bag, then these will eat up your life coming in the next few months. Remember, we give away a free Nintendo Switch game each month. Thank you so much to our patrons who support the channel every single month. If you want to join them, the link's down below. And for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!